Hey, welcome back to the All Green channel, everybody. I'm GNL Jimbo, and today I want to talk about renewable energy siting. And why are we talking about this? It's a little early in our GNL endeavors, I feel, but I think it's good to have a little background knowledge about what our company, Green Life Energy Global, is going to be doing in the future and kind of what it could mean for us as investors. So um, I went to a local government conference a few days ago, and I attended one of the classes. It was called Renewable Energy Siting, and I pulled up this article that you're seeing in back of me here that is actually really good. It has some good background information about what renewable energy is and what it isn't. And then siting specifically means where are we putting these projects and all the stuff that goes along with it. And it's quite complicated. It's not just as simple as locating a piece of land and saying I'm going to be putting a massive project on this. There's a lot more to it. So we're just going to dive into some of the generalities. Now, the conference I went to is specifically, and the information I got was specifically for New York State in the United States. Obviously, it's going to be different from a lot of other places, even from state to state within the US. Obviously, even more so between countries. But I think there's some universals that we can all learn about and take away from and keep in the back of our minds as we move forward in the GNL process through our roadmap as we receive funding and projects come out that we know about. So as much as I hate just reading from a website, there's just a few things here I really want to cover. The first one is this paragraph. Renewable energy is energy from a source that is not depleted when used, such as wind or solar power. Fossil fuels are non-renewable because there is a finite amount of these resources, and when they are used, they are no longer available. So that's just a good basis to know what GNL is going to be doing. It's not anything with fossil fuels. It's going to be with wind, solar. They list a few more things down here, also including hydropower. That means power from water, running water. Geothermal, that's using the Earth's natural heat to in a lot of different ways. Geothermal is a huge portion of the green energy just on its own. We'll talk about that some other time. And then biomass. And I think biomass is what John Wood, our CEO's his first company, JD Forestry, I believe it's called. I believe they work with biomass. So we'll get into some of this things in a future video. But siting, what is renewable energy siting? Um, and like I mentioned before, we're really talking about not the rooftop solar panels, putting on just enough for your house. We're talking about large scale projects, which I think is what we want to do with Green Life Energy Global. Um, and how we're putting it down, where we're putting it down, and the process it takes to install such facilities. And that's what we're talking about with renewable energy siting. In particular, what I learned about in my class at the conference was solar and wind generating energy production. And those ones, if you think about, do have a fairly sizable impact on the property, on the land that they're putting down. And one of the things that I think we, as the team progresses, I'm not part of the team, and by the way, this isn't financial advice. This is just my own musings and a little bit of research that I've done, and I just want to share it with you all. So you can apply it to your own line of thinking. I really want to hear about your thoughts in the comments, guys. So feel free to let me know what you're thinking about this content. If you've got any particular ideas about where we could go in the future, or maybe some helpful things that the team might pick up from us that they can store in the back of their minds, so when they're ready, we get some funding, we can start implementing some of these projects. But let's go back into it. So solar, wind, they do make an impact. Locating where we want to put them is a big deal, okay? There was an example in New York State here, northern New York, out in rural country here. We've got um, several wildlife refuges, and there was a company that wanted to put a large-scale wind farm about 2, 3 miles away from the borders of that wildlife refuge. Well, U.S. Fish and Wildlife says, hey, we've got birds migrating through this region and into the area that your rotors of this turbine, wind turbine, would be turning at, and bird migration is going to suffer because of that. So just a real quick, easy example to understand that knowing where to put these projects is going to make a difference. And then also one thing that I do want to mention, something that I'm against, is clear cutting property for solar panel projects. Instead, there's a lot of other good options out there, maybe reusing a site that's already been affected or that is no longer being used for its original purpose, but yet it's wide open enough. We've got some good sun exposure. Just instead of going and buying a forested piece of land, which is producing carbon, by the way, and can be used for that forest carbon attribute. Instead of clear cutting that forested parcel, let's find somewhere else to use and to put down these panels and site this renewable energy project. So just be aware that is one of the universals I think that we all and the team can take advantage of, and maybe cut some costs too if going a certain direction and locating it in the right place. Another thing that I just wanted to bring up with this renewable energy siting is the process that it takes, at least in New York State. So I can tell you right now that at a minimum, when a energy company comes to New York State, they have to work with a number of entities. First of all, New York, the state itself, local entities or local municipalities as well, and private landowners around. It's a process of communication as well as environmental impact studies. There's a fair amount of investment that the energy company, a fair amount of money that we have to put up to get all these things done in this process. And the approval process can take 6 months to a year minimum. So just be aware, guys. This is a universal to keep in the back of our investors' minds here, is that some of these projects will take a while to break ground. At least in the New York State region, I am assuming that similar restrictions are around other states and other countries. They're going to vary by time frame, but I think it's safe to say, guys, that it's not going to be overnight. We're not going to get funding from this potential Turkey partner and turn around and throw a solar project up overnight. It's going to take several months to plan it, to fund it first. We're going to plan it. We've got to communicate with the private landowners around. We've got to purchase the property we want to put it on. And this is all involving our lawyers and the other lawyers of, maybe the state attorneys and the attorneys of the property that we're purchasing. And then we've got to get the permits to put it in there. And then we've got to actually do the construction itself, mitigating any problems with the local municipalities. Maybe we busted up a road because of our heavy machinery, and then we got to fix that. So it's all going to cost a little bit of money. It's all going to cost a little bit of time, but the overall goal, once we get these up and running, we are producing renewable energy as shown here. And this is a continuing thing. It doesn't just go away. The wind's not just going to stop as long as we put it in the right place. That sun isn't going to stop. So that is going to be a continual energy source with, these are notorious for having minimal amounts of maintenance needed. So the cost of maintaining, the cost of monitoring these things, is going to be negligible once we start seeing those returns from selling the energy back into the grid or back into our holders, however we're going to distribute that energy. So I'm really excited about it. I just wanted to let you guys know about that conference I went to, talk a little bit about what I learned, the siting, it's important, and it is going to take time. The universals, I think, hold true no matter what project we're talking about, specifically and especially solar and wind, which I think are the biggies, right? So anyways, interested to hear your thoughts on it. Let me know down in the comments. Please subscribe. Let's grow this channel up to make sure that GNL is known far and wide. All right. Thanks for joining, guys. Take care.